Welcome to Faith with Flavor, the place to be to season and encourage your faith. I'm your host, Donna Clayton. Today we're going to hear the story of Joshua Ogaldez, a young person who was raised by a single mother in the U.S. He is a preacher, motivational speaker, and has his own podcast where he features influential voices in the faith community. He's going to share what it was like growing up in a bicultural environment and how his upbringing led him to where he is today. But first, I recently traveled to Nashville for the NRB convention, where I represented the Salsa Network and made some amazing connections. But I also got a chance to have a little fun. Take a look at part 1 of my Nashville vlog. I just landed in Nashville and I'm super excited because I'm going to be at the NRB convention representing salsa, of course. Just landed. I'm a little tired from the ride, but I just got into my rental car and I'm going to head over to the Gaylord Opryland Resort. Woo woo! I'm going to catch up with some old friends and meet some new friends, and it's going to be a great old time, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek into everything that I do here in Nashville, so stay with me. Woo! I made it to my room! Finally, this is gonna be home for the next few days, guys, and you know I gotta do the traditional tour of the hotel, so here we go. Here it is. There I am, hey! There's my McDonald's Diet Coke that I've been drinking. Now, just to give you guys an idea of what a hike that was to get over here, I started here and I worked my way all the way to here. Can you believe that? I'm out of breath, I'm hungry, and I just want to relax and have a nice dinner with some of my friends. Seriously. And over here, we got the king size bed. Oh my gosh, this is so much better. I love it. Look at the outside. Look at how pretty it looks. So pretty. What's up, guys? We made it to the mall and guess who's with me? It's Jeannie. Say hi to all my YouTube fam.
Hey guys, I am done after a long day at NRB. I'm sure Donna's gonna show you all about it.
Yep, I just got here, but she's been here literally all week, and we are ready for some food and some girl talk, and we're just gonna have so much fun today, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
I'm gonna get Jeannie. That looks so good. What is that? A salad?
I don't know.
Ooh, yum.
New York, it's called a steak tostada. I don't know what it's called in Nashville.
Nice. I don't know what I'm getting. I'm definitely getting some queso. Spice of life. That's right. Here we are. Here we go. About to find the perfect boots in here. Ooh, look at that. That's my kind of deal right there. Buy one pair, get 2 pair for free. Yeah. Here we go. What size are you?
I don't know. I've never had cowgirl boots.
Really? Oh my gosh, you have to. When in Nashville.
We don't do that. Yeah, I would like that.
All right, we are gonna find the most perfect pair of cowgirl boots. Woo woo, here we go. It begins, guys. I gotta find the perfect pair of black or white cowgirl boots. Which ones will I pick? I don't know. Here we go. These really caught my eye. Look, they have hearts on them. They're so cute, and they're black. Very stylish. Look at that. Love it. Let's try them on. All right, guys, what do you guys think? I think I'm in love. They fit perfectly according to my guy over here. They are just so cute. I feel like a cowgirl. Yes, I do. You gotta tell the viewers which boots you're going with, because they are dying to know.
We'll show them all the pairs that I've tried on.
Okay. Ta-da!
So I tried all these on, but we decided on these.
Gorgeous.
I love the, what are these called?
Snip toes.
Snip toes.
Nice.
Nice little heel. They go up, like up to here. They're really cute.
And they look amazing on you. That's right. Guys. Bye, Chris.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Bye. are pretty tired after a long day of flying, getting into our hotels, eating, and of course with the grand finale of shopping. If you just started tuning into the show, that was a look at my vlog featuring the wonderful city of Nashville. And stay tuned to next week's episode of Faith with Flavor, where you will watch part 2 of what happened at the NRB convention. And now, without further ado, let's meet preacher and motivational speaker, Joshua Ogaldez. Joshua, welcome.
Hey, so excited, so thrilled to be here with you today.
I'm so excited to have you. I know we've been wanting to do this for quite some time now, and finally it happened. So let's just start off by, giving us an introduction. Why don't you tell us how you came to know the Lord?
So this goes way back. This goes a lot of credit towards those like Sunday school teachers, but it really happened at a very, very young age. I remember, I don't know if any of you that are listening or seeing this right now. I remember Sunday school teachers having that whole thing with the food coloring, and it's like, this is like how your life looks with sin, but when Jesus comes, and then they put the bleach, and then like you become and then when you come to Christ, all of that's washed away. And for some reason, at such a young age, that moved me at Sunday school, and I came to Christ at such a young age because of that.
Wow, that's awesome. And you were also raised by a single mom.
Yes.
What was that like growing up for you?
Yeah, so I think the thing is, it was a very, very interesting context. Dad, he would provide. He was a financial breadwinner, but as far as being emotionally present, he wasn't there. And so the ways it influenced me was, I've always been drawn to the outsider in my life, and part of that was because I felt in different circles. Sometimes my mom was the outsider. Sometimes,
What do you mean by that exactly?
So in churches, sometimes I think we've elevated so much, I think, marriage, that sometimes a person will step into a place and they're not married and feel outside, or sometimes comments by people, or sometimes along the lines of that. I remember for Father's Day, in Sunday school, we made presents for our fathers, and being and stepping into the church service and not having my dad to give that gift to.
Oh.
And so, those little moments in which there's things that are celebrated, but there's not a full inclusion of everybody sometimes. Yeah.
So what has been like one of the biggest lessons that God has taught you so far?
So I was really, really thinking about this, and it's going to sound super simple, but it's just the idea that success is knowing that you are loved by God and you were created to love him back. And so whether it be, Josh, you're Latino, and yes, you are loved. Josh, sometimes you've got these failures, you've got these circumstances, you've got these things in your life that aren't perfect, but you are loved. Josh, you are brown, and you are loved. You're not the tallest kid, but you are loved. And just coming to understanding that at the end of the day, my identity is as a child of God.
I love that you say brown, because that's how sometimes I also identify myself.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I'm Donna, the brown Donna.
Yeah, no, it's really, really interesting, because recently I ran into a book called Same Family, Different Shades, or Different Colors. And what's interesting, it talks about how sometimes within communities of color, sometimes there's different ways we interact with different colors, and that's just been part of my journey, and then coming to the reality that, hey, with that, you are loved and wonderfully made.
Yes, I want to dig deep into that for a little minute here and just talk about what it was like for you, because I know I grew up too in two different cultures. At home, I grew up with a Latina mother, Salvadorian, very strong.
Yeah.
But then I went to school and I was taught English, and there's the American culture that's embedded into you. What was that like for you growing up?
So I love this question, because I think with time I've come to see the reality that there's gifts of American culture we can bring to Latino culture, and gifts from Latino culture to American culture.
Amen.
But growing up, there were moments where it was hard. I remember this one moment, we did Secret Santa in class, and the kid that I had Secret Santa, he said he wanted lead pencils. So I remember being at the market with my mom and saying, "Mom, necesito comprar esos lapiceros para este amigo." And she's like, "No te los voy a comprar," and she's like, with that like Latina boldness, like, "I'm your mother, I'm not gonna buy that for you." So I remember wrapping this pencil of my own and giving it to the kid and getting in trouble because it wasn't what he asked for. I also remember this one time in 7th grade where we had to do a cultural project. And I had asked my mom, hey, Mom, I need a story for this project of your childhood. And she'd say my dad would, he would grow coffee. And I asked her again, she'd say my dad would grow coffee. Again, my dad would grow coffee. I'm in class, I tell the story, and it's like the story of your mother or parents' childhood. My grandfather would grow coffee, and I got a C- so
Wow.
for that. And so it's just understanding that at times that there's a little bit of the frustration because there's certain things that are expected or things that don't go clearly. But then it's with time knowing that I didn't like speaking Spanish growing up sometimes, and I felt embarrassed by it. But with time, I've seen the beauty and just the exponential and the vibrancy that comes with it. And so there's been definitely some hard moments, but some amazing as well.
Yeah, well, my mom never allowed me to be embarrassed of it because she had a rule in the house, and her rule was you can't speak English in the house. And now, you know, when I was growing up, I kind of had similar feelings towards speaking Spanish, but now I see it as one of the biggest blessings of my life because the fact that I was one of those kids that didn't lose the language, you know, and now I can have a full-on conversation in Spanish, no problem. I can read it, I can write it. It's just, isn't it such a blessing?
It's an amazing blessing because I think the way I've seen it is, I've seen it, if you have the ability and you have the gift to speak multiple languages, it's like, it's such a gift because your influence is exponentially enlarged. Not only are you going to influence people from one culture, but you can influence people from multiple cultures, which is amazing, I think.
Yes, and I think now the generation growing up, it's a lot more lax than it was probably when we were growing up, and now it's more accepted, you know, than it was back then, or even a few generations down the line. But what about, let's talk about being a millennial for a second.
Yeah, sure.
You know, you're a millennial, I'm a millennial. How do you feel about that?
I think there's so much with being a millennial. I think one is that oftentimes we're a generation that has gone through single motherhood, that has experienced a lot of dysfunction at home. We're also a generation that has gone through a lot of transitions and a lot of things. And I think within that we have a choice. We have a choice to tell a new story, to become part of a new story. And I think that our generation is very entrepreneurial, very creative. I think with so much social media, we have different platforms with which to express our creativity. We're invited to express that. The only thing is that I think in the process of all of that is that we've become so obsessed sometimes with the image of things. And sometimes it's like life is not really the highlight reel everybody puts on social media.
Right.
And that sometimes beyond that, sometimes in order to get to those places we really want to get to, it's going to take work, and we've been accustomed for instant gratification. You post something up, you get that like, versus the things that really matter in life take a lot of work, and you won't get the results till long term.
Yeah, but see, then there's guys like you and people like me that we know that it takes a lot of hard work. I mean, we didn't get here by chance or coincidence. We got here because, yes, you know, God blessed our journey. But we also put in the work. Yeah. So there's that millennial, and then there's the millennial that expects instant gratification, right?
Definitely.
Now, I want you to talk to the pastors that are watching. You know, they are still racking their brains trying to figure out how to reach this millennial generation. What would you say to them?
Pastors, I absolutely love you. And I think for me, even speaking in this moment to you in this camera, there's a part of me that empathizes with you because you got a job in which you do 50,000 things. You're a CEO one moment, you're a visionary, you're a public speaker, you're a counselor, you're a parent at some moments. And so first I empathize with you because you have a crazy job and so much responsibilities. But the thing to connect with millennials is, number one, millennials, they don't care about titles as much as they care about the essence of people. So if you're a leader, beyond the title, there's a space for leadership that comes through position, but they're gonna follow you when they see the abundance of love, grace, hope in you that also empowers them. And as you empower the millennials around you, and as you fully live and embody the culture you want to live, then they will follow you, number one. And number two is speak life into millennials. I think that a lot of millennials are overlooked, and beyond the label, look at their humanity. Understand people, millennials, through the statistics and trends, but when you're going to connect with them, forget about the label and look at their humanity.
Wow, so good. Preach it.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Now, Joshua, I want to get to know you a little bit more. I want our audience to know what you do. So talk about your podcast. Talk about the vision for it. How did that come about?
So the podcast in English, oftentimes I've seen that there's a big divide between the world of success and then the world of spirituality and faith. And oftentimes it's as if the world of success is seen as a villain, is seen as evil, is seen as greedy by spiritual people. We'll have a lot of films in which the evil person in the film is the CEO or the person that's working a lot. And oftentimes we'll have on the other side people that work a lot. We'll look at spiritual people that pray, and we'll sometimes look at them as lazy or less. And so what came to mind in my heart is I was at a season where I want to reach people beyond the four walls. I've always been a communicator. At the age of 5, I would record cassette tapes of me preaching.
Wow.
So it's always been embedded in there, but I want to reach more people. So there's a moment where I'm driving from my mom's place, which is 30 minutes away or an hour away from where I live. And then there's a moment in which this just divine moment just came, and it's like, I should start a podcast. And seeing that divide between those two worlds and seeing a divide between Sunday and the rest of the week, I think sometimes on Sundays, we can become accustomed to becoming consumers, but where does faith interact with the rest of our life? And so going on those questions, that's what spawned the beginning of the podcast, the first one.
Okay. And so one day, you decided to start a podcast. How did that door become open? How did God open that door for you?
So it was a lot of a journey, it was a bit of a journey. First thing that I did is I graduated seminary. And after I graduated seminary with my master's degree, I hustled and tried to find somebody to somewhat mentor me or lead me. And so I offered to work for this person for free, among other things.
Wow.
And his name's Lewis Howes. He's one of the top 100 podcasters in the world. He's been on the Ellen Show. He's also had big guests from New York Times bestselling authors to big CEOs. And so I interned with him, learned a little bit from him. So already interning with him gave me a platform, a little bit of credibility.
Wow. I admire, can I just say this real quick? I admire your hustle. I mean, just the fact that you were willing to work for free for this guy.
Yeah, for a whole summer.
For a whole summer. I mean, that just shows your dedication. I mean, you knew that this was something bigger than yourself. It was something that you needed this message to get out there, right? Yeah. So what did that season teach you of being his intern for the summer? Yeah, so what I learned, the big thing that I was working with him was a lot of research, a lot of behind-the-scenes things. But it was just that sense that I think there's a quality to your work. There's a lot of things that we had to go extra work. Sometimes I'd be editing some stuff, proofreading some things, and it'd go to another person. So just learning that to really master your craft takes a lot of time, takes a lot of work. And also being with him, sometimes I'd ask him questions. And it's just that whole sense that when he started, it wasn't all perfect. And so the big thing that I learned was that to just start and just begin, even if it wasn't going to be ideal at the first moment. His first ever podcast, he gets like 2 million downloads a month. Wow.
But his first ever podcast was on a cell phone. And so just learning that things begin imperfectly, but just as you continue to grow and grow, things become better and better.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So did it start as a Spanish podcast for Enlace or?
It all started in English. So the story is, so first I started with the English podcast called The Intersection of Success and Spirituality. And I've interviewed people like Megan Alexander. She's one of the news correspondents for Inside Edition. Kevin Malone, one of the former general managers for the Dodgers. I've also interviewed different CEOs, New York Times bestselling authors. And so immediately I first began with the first people that I knew that would be a fit for this show. But then after that, the question I'd ask at the end of the show is, who do you know that would be a great fit? And so just things would expand, and I'd get connected to people with time. And as credibility built, then I was able to invite people, and with time, I got more yeses and yeses. And then now I have people email me and reach out to me to be on the show. So it's shifted. But one of the people I interviewed was Rebecca Gonzalez Cercone, who's one of the daughters, the eldest daughter of Jonas Gonzalez, who's the president of Enlace. And I still remember this being one of the most significant interviews for me, even though I had interviewed some great people. because I grew up watching TBN. I grew up watching Enlace. I grew up watching like 24/7. This is what my mom had.
And now you only watch salsa, right?
Salsa's amazing. Salsa's amazing. Donna, you are incredible. You're incredible. So I remember, and I remember doing this interview, and it was so impactful that I listened to it 15 times within a span of 2 weeks before it even released, because I was just so moved that I got to interview her.
Wow.
And when it actually came out, then within a span of a few weeks, I get a message, and the message was that her dad, her mom, and her sister had all listened to the show.
Aww.
And right now, TBN Enlace is on a journey to move towards digital things. And they reach out to me, and they're like, you got a gift, and it's in your voice, it's in the questions you ask, it's in how you ask them. And just in everything you do, we see excellence. We'd love for you to do something like this for Enlace. And then that's how Enlace came about. Yeah.
And that's how the fruit of your labor was rewarded by God Almighty.
Yeah, I once interviewed this guy by the name of Ken Coleman. And Ken Coleman, for a while, he built a business selling cell phones. And he had a radio show on weekends, but during this one interview, he did this one interview that just went viral because of the question he asked. And what he says is, when you're doing the right thing with the right people around you, the right time will come.
Amen.
And so I think that's what happened. I was doing the right thing at the right time, and the right time came.
That's such a good little nugget right there.
Yeah. That's big.
What is your message to the world?
So I think my biggest message is there's no greater treasure than God's heart. No greater treasure than God's heart. At the end of the day, connecting with the heart and the essence of who God is, I think there's nothing like that. Yeah.
And this is one of the mics that you actually use during your podcast, right?
This right here, this is a Hale PR40. It's amazing. I love microphones. Some people love cars. Some people love clothes. I love microphones.
Or cameras, if you're a vlogger.
Oh, yeah. So I love. So this is a Hale PR40. Like, that's
wow.
It's pretty nice. This makes it. What this is this helps like kind of filter some of the puff sounds when you're doing it with your mouth. But yeah, this is a Hale PR40.
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
You know, when you were working for free, I mean, obviously you weren't getting paid. How did you make ends meet, like, during that time? How did God provide for you?
I literally just got a normal job at the time. Just literally, I had a master's degree, and instead of wanting to go in and get something along those lines, I had 2 gigs that I got during that time. One was I got to be a teacher at a local Bible college. Another one was I just worked at a restaurant.
Okay.
And that for me was just like, I'm willing to put in this thing that short term is like painful for this long term thing that I see beyond this.
Amen. I love your hustle, Josh. That's so awesome.
Yep.
And where can people listen to your podcast?
So there's 2 of them. So if you're for those that listen to more English, you could find it on iTunes. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, just look up Joshua Ogaldez or The Intersection of Success and Spirituality. So you could find that there. For those that listen Spanish, which the Spanish podcast is very close to my heart. I've never, ever cried in an English podcast. It's actually the reverse. My guests cry on the English one. 4 of the first 8 interviews I ever did, 4 of the first 8 guests cried at some point in the podcast.
Wow.
And some of these interviews I've done are people on different sides of the country, but for Spanish, twice already, in like the 30 episodes we've already recorded, I've cried.
Why did you cry?
One of them was with this one guy by the name of Sixto Porras. He's in Costa Rica. And I was asking him this question, what's been your greatest spiritual moment to this day? And he talked about this moment when he was in the Sea of Galilee, where he wanted to actually record with his phone or his camera this one moment where the sun was setting on the Sea of Galilee. But I think the battery was like low, or he couldn't do it. He was frustrated. And I think God in that moment whispers to his heart and says, don't worry. From this day forward, every moment will be a Sea of Galilee for you.
Aww.
And I was just so moved by that. And
That's so sweet.
the preface of his book, he talks about somebody, when they did the foreword of his book, they said, this man, when you're around him, you feel the fragrance of God's Spirit. And that's literally what I felt throughout the whole interview. So that moved me. And another one that moved me was this pastor in Venezuela, Joel Lopez. He moved from being a gangster at the age of 14, and God encountered him. That was amazing.
Praise God. I love it. I am so honored that you were a guest on my show. Thank you so much. But I do have one more question for you. I want you to look into the camera and encourage somebody that's watching that maybe has a dream in their heart that they need to fulfill. Just really quickly, just encourage them.
So I don't know where you find yourself. I don't know if you are just distraught and you want to stop dreaming. But what I have to tell you is this. The very thing you thought your whole life is a disadvantage perhaps is one of your greatest blessings. Perhaps you've been thinking that your ADHD, your dyslexia, the color of your skin, the ethnicity you came from, perhaps you're thinking about your story. Wherever you find yourself, perhaps that very disadvantage is your greatest gift that God wants to use the world so that you impact multiple people that perhaps won't be impacted by necessarily my voice, but your voice. So use your voice because your voice matters and you matter. Big love. Go after your dream.
Amen. And if someone would like to get in touch with you personally, where can they go?
Just simply website, joshuaogaldez.com, and there's a section there where you could get in touch with me.
Josh, it's been such an honor. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Honored.
I am so blessed by you, and I'm so blessed by your future because I know that your future is bright. So thank you so much for being on my show. And thank you at home for watching Faith with Flavor. I pray that the show has blessed you in a tremendous way. And if it has, I would love to know your comments. Please find me at lifewithdonna.com and email me your thoughts. And you can also subscribe to my email list to stay connected with me. And finally, I just want to leave you with this word of encouragement. You know, the Word of God says in Matthew 21:22, if you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. And that is a fact. You know, your dreams are about to be born. I really sense it right now that you who's watching right now, you have a big dream inside of you and it is about to be born. If you just stay the course, if you just allow God to be God in your life, you will have what you ask for in prayer. God bless you. Bye-bye.